very scared, very, very scared, because I'm about to say something which is totally politically incorrect, and I want you to wake up just for the next 15 minutes, because you won't hear it from anybody else in this conference, nor any conference you go to on sustainability. I don't even know what the word sustainability means, because I don't know how long for, I don't know. I hear so many big words. And I did tell the organizers that they might have made a mistake. I mean, there's a famous book in English literature by Evelyn Walker Scoop, where they classically misidentified somebody as being somebody else. And I thought that there might be a Tang who was a huge environmentalist. And I told them that I was a skeptic. That is a word almost that I can't even mention. But they said, come and say something skeptical. So I'm warning you, and I live in trepidation. I got head of WWF there, I got Green Party, I got God knows how many experts on the environment, and I'm merely speaking today as an ordinary businessman having no expertise on global warming or climate change, but only as a citizen of the world. And I have to tell you, however, and politicians should take note, is that we might have had an over-saturation of all this talk, and that it's about time to, when they hear what we, the ordinary people, what the Greeks called hoi polloi, think. We're actually scared, and I think unfairly so. And I actually gave a speech only last week in New York, where Clinton was at, also about sustainability, and I was also scared. And I also thought that they misidentified David Tang. But I will tell you this, 50 people came up to me afterwards and whispered to me, without telling me their names, that they agree with what I said. So if any of you want to come and say hello to me, make sure you put a different suit on or put on a moustache. I have one proposition today, and it is in relation to what has been talked about today. You heard the opening remarks by Mr. Gorecki this morning, saying that when he goes to Oxford, where incidentally I'm speaking tomorrow night, but thankfully not on the environment, they always give you the problem but not the solutions. But what do you expect? They're academics. So they are, what Mr. Gorecki is implying to you, businessmen, governments and NGOs and so forth, is to propose solutions. Now today, I'm not going to give you solutions because I think it's not as easy as that. I want to articulate for you, however, the ambit of the problem. Because as a businessman and a bit of a scientist and a logician, I believe that it's very important to articulate the problem. And the problem today is that we don't really understand the problem of the problem. The problem has just been taken for granted. Now, I'm no expert on climate change or global warming, but of course I take a passing interest in this huge subject. I don't think you can escape it. Every day I hear it. Every moment I switch on the television, every conference I go to is about climate change, is about global warming. And I haven't heard one politician in public who has expressed any sense of skepticism. And so there's a huge bandwagon out there, I will tell you, and I feel very lonely standing up here, especially amongst your lot. It's lonely enough outside in the world where there are people like me. The message I seem to be receiving, without exception, and I heard it this morning time and time and again, is that planet Earth has been abused by human usage of carbon dioxide, and it will be destroyed before long if we do not change our ways. I think we saw your last caption saying that if we didn't act these 2 or 3 years, these are the defining years, we're going to be done. Now, my immediate reaction, I have several reactions, but my immediate one is that, and you have to excuse me for calling you people alarmists, because that's what you're saying. You're going around tearing your hair out and saying, Christ, there's a fire, let's put it out, because it's going to be really bad if we don't do something about it now or else. Is an alarmist, okay, for rightly or wrongly, that's what an alarmist is. My immediate reaction is that those who criticize the CO2 emissions, which is unarguable, I grant that, it is unarguable because of Western industrialization, must be slightly ungrateful because of industrialization. We have had so many benefits that have gone unsaid. You know, our longevity, our life expectancy, infants don't die like flies now, we don't go around with stinking breath and rotting teeth, and people grow old. We don't even worry if we had appendicitis. We go through surgery, or even kidney failure, we swap another one, or a heart failure, we have a bypass, we have another heart. We don't worry too much because we have been used to living on the benefit of modern medicine and modern surgery, and in effect, modern industrialization. I just think it's a bit out of sync when people go around saying that man has been responsible for destroying the earth. Of course, the environmentalists say, well, they don't say that. They say that we have achieved progress at the expense of damaging the earth. But, you know, in life, we are bound by a domino of causes and effects. We cannot simply choose to concentrate on the damages, just as we can't concentrate on benefits. It's always a moving balance between pluses and minuses. Therefore, I feel strongly we should at least have a sense of perspective. Now, I'm not even saying that we shouldn't worry about green and worry about all these things. I'm all for it. I want to be green. I want to be a citizen of the world. I want to respect environmental resources and so forth. So don't get me wrong, but I'm just putting a different gloss on what the problem has been presented as being dire. And in a minute, I'm going to show you that, in fact, when people tell you scientifically is unchallenged, is not. It's far from it. Now, I just mentioned China because China has been mentioned before, and of course we have had this problem, and it's been recognized that it's all very well for the West to tell China what to do, and of course China is effectively saying, well, you have had the benefit of cheap carbon-driven energy for your industrialization, now is our turn. In fact, Mr. Chin at the last G8 summit said this, which is even more direct. China is now a world factory. The developed countries move a lot of manufacturing industries to China. A lot of things you wear and you eat are produced in China. On the one hand, you increase the production in China. On the other hand, you criticize China for the emission reduction issue. So it's unfair. Indeed, it is unfair. I mean, if you think about it, the United States and your own European community run a surplus, ginormous surpluses, since it started, of 300 billion US a year of each region with China. What do you think you're doing? There's a ball with spikes that America and the EU tell people to put in their dryer because it supposedly reduces or makes more efficient the drying process by 20%. So people are encouraged to go and buy this rubber ball and chuck it in their dryer so that they can dry their underpants more dry, which is always much better than when it's slightly damp. And yet, these balls, millions of them, are done in manufactured in China, in coal-fired factories. So there's no net reduction. If anything, it could be even worse.